On the next If Walls Could Talk, the secrets to a Civil War farmhouse are revealed when an original family member stops by.
Instead of us showing him the house, he showed us the house.
And an Oklahoma couple rebuilds their unusual home. If Walls Could Talk, coming up next, only on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
Experience the Rose Parade like never before on HGTV.com.
Log on for a behind-the-scenes look with our exclusive float cam.
And see fabulous floats being built live online.
The Rose Parade.
Live and commercial-free on HGTV.
And online at HGTV.com.
It's the next best thing to being there.
The following HGTV program is an all-new episode.
An 1830s Louisiana farmhouse shows the scars of survival and reveals the vibrant characters of its past. An 1864 Nevada house brings back touching memories, both immediate and distant. And in Oklahoma, restoration allows the current owners to peek behind the curtains of an unusual 1911 home. These stories and more, if walls could talk. Hello, I'm Grant Goodeve. Welcome to If Walls Could Talk. City life in Lafayette, Louisiana suited Louis and Jeanne Cornay for many years until Louis's search for a small farm brought the couple to Chrétien Point. The 1830s farmhouse sits in a rural area a short drive north of Lafayette. With most of its original features still intact, the Cornays completed an extensive restoration and discovered a history full of vibrant characters and tales of survival.
We had a fun evening the first night we owned the house. The house had no electricity, so we came up into this room, and there was no furniture. It was absolutely bare. But we invited some of our closest friends out for supper.
The evening was a time for Louis and Jeanne Cornay to celebrate their purchase and kick off the start of making their 1830s farmhouse, known as Chrétien Point, beautiful again.
Then the next day the workers came and put up scaffolding all around the house, and we put a new roof on, and we started from the top and worked down. We started on November the 4th and moved in the following Easter, 1975.
Before moving in, Louis and Jeanne peeled away decades of dirt that gave way to the home's enduring 19th century quality.
And we only had put 12 new pieces of glass in. The marble mantles are original. All the woodwork in this house is original.
A piece of the original furniture is also back in the house. Out of the blue, Louis and Jeanne got a call from someone in Lake Charles, Louisiana, claiming to have an armoire from Chrétien Point.
It was in terrible condition. It had been through 2 floods, held together with a rope around the middle of it.
Despite its condition, the Cornays bought the armoire and soon found a clue that it was connected to Chrétien Point.
As they were restoring the furniture, it had to be taken apart completely, every board. And on the back of one of the boards was the name of the man who built this house. It said H. Chrétien St. Landry.
H. Chrétien is short for Hippolyte Chrétien, who built the home in 1831. Hippolyte was French-Canadian, and these French roots helped explain peculiar shelves in a back room.
I figured that they used about 3,500 bottles of wine a year. Wine would come in big barrels from France, and the barrels would be opened in this room and bottled right here, and then they were stored on these shelves.
Jeanne discovered more tasteful connections to the home's French roots.
I had to do the necessary research to find out what an 1830s Louisiana plantation house would have had. The French like lots of colors.
A sense of their home's heritage gradually emerged. But Louis and Jeanne were in for more than they ever imagined when they located a direct Chrétien descendant.
We heard that there was a man who was born in this house in 1890, and he was still living, and he lived in Port Arthur, Texas. So we called him. His name was Hamilton Chrétien, and his nickname was Tumpy. So we called Tumpy and invited him over for Sunday lunch.
This was Tumpy's first visit to Chrétien Point since he left on the seat of a wagon with his father in the early 1900s.
Instead of us showing him the house, he showed us the house.
Tumpy showed where he had left his own mark on the house. As a rebellious little boy, he riddled this door with hammer marks.
I'm so glad we didn't sandpaper them off because they're kind of neat.
A stain on this step, now covered with carpet, sparked Tumpy's memory of the night in 1840 when his courageous great-grandmother, Félicité, saved the house and her 5 children when she shot an invading pirate.
He rolled down the stairs and he stopped on the 11th step. We know it was the 11th step because there's a blood stain on the 11th step.
Louis asked Tumpy how he knew the story was true.
And he says, well, my granddaddy told me it was what happened. And I said, how'd your granddaddy know? And he said, well, my granddaddy was in the house the night it happened.
The Cornays feel the spirited Félicité will always rule this house. Tumpy gave Louis and Jeanne her portrait that hung in this spot for over 100 years.
We're just delighted to have her. She's back where she belongs.
A portrait of Félicité's daughter-in-law, Célestine Cantrell Chrétien, was also given to the Cornays. Célestine lived in the home in 1863 when a Civil War skirmish broke out in the front yard.
Cannons were set up there on the field across the way, and they found their mark, and one of the cannons hit this column over here. At that time, Celestine's husband, he came out here on the front gallery and with a sheet, and he made a distress signal. Before the battle was stopped, a rifle bullet hole came through this door. There's a hole that's still there.
And by rifling through items at an antique show, Louis and Jeanne discovered more evidence of this historic battle.
We were going through some old newspaper clippings at an antique show, and lo and behold, here is an artist rendering of the battle that took place in the front yard of this house, and it has a picture of the house in the drawing. So we did buy that one, and we framed it, and we have it hanging in the back hall right at the head of the stairs.
When the Cornays first saw Chrétien Point, it appeared to be just an old house in the Louisiana countryside. But through the years, as a colorful history emerged, the old place has taken on a new feel. Or as they say in French, it has a certain je ne sais quoi. One night in 1995, Louis and Jeanne received a phone call from a man asking if there was a connection between the Chrétiens of Louisiana and the Chrétiens of Canada. The caller turned out to be Jean Chrétien, the Prime Minister of Canada. And yes, he did have common ancestry with the man who built Chrétien Point. Louis and Jeanne went to Canada to meet the Prime Minister and have discovered another family tie. Jeanne and Jean are also distant relatives. Coming up next, the golden memories of the past are close to the heart for a man who restored his 1864 Nevada home. There's more to hear if walls could talk.
Brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge.
True color doesn't fade. That's why I use Superior Preference by L'Oreal. Preference gel bonds faithfully with my hair, so my color won't fade out. With 6 weeks of deep conditioning, my hair won't dry out. Superior Preference by L'Oreal Paris. This color was made to last.
Bringing together my loved ones' faces. 2 in college, 1 in braces. Holiday dishes aiming to please, but only one is hot and flaky, made with ease. Present first on the table, they're going fast. Grab one quick, they're gone in a flash. Looking around, it was all worthwhile. Leftovers, a table full of smiles. My heart to yours.
Hey, look, a tour. Should we do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need film? No, I'm okay.
New Max Versatility Plus is Kodak's most versatile film ever. It even works in fast action. While other other films may blur, you get crystal clear pictures more often with Versatility Plus.
I should have tried your Kodak film.
Share the moment, share life.
Doesn't your guy deserve a Norelco razor? This holiday, give him the only electric razor with built-in shaving lotion, the new Norelco Advantage.
Welcome back to If Walls Could Talk. Virginia City, Nevada is known for its history. It's not far from Reno and Tahoe, and tourists visit to get a taste of the Old West. The gold and silver boom along the Comstock Lode in the 1800s made some miners into instant millionaires and turned Virginia City into a boisterous and bustling town. Today, a piece of that past has been preserved by a man named Joe Page. Joe's house returns visitors to those Victorian times in Virginia City. But for Joe, the most important memory that the house holds is of the time he spent restoring the house with his late wife, Carol. Set on a snow-dusted hillside with a spectacular view of the Sierra Mountains, Joe Page's home is one of the few historic houses to survive a devastating fire that swept through Virginia City, Nevada in 1876. But by the time Joe bought the home in 1963, it was in such bad shape that even the seller felt sorry for him and refunded part of his deposit.
And she said, "I'm giving you back your $500. That house needs a lot of work."
So much work that it wasn't until the 1980s that Joe and his wife Carol began a serious restoration. And as their home's past became more apparent, they grew more concerned about historical accuracy, especially Carol.
She had to have everything just so or it wasn't going to go. That's all there was to it.
Today, Joe appreciates Carol's attention to detail more than ever. Carol passed away in 1996, not long after they finished their restoration.
My wife prepared this as we were doing the work on the house. And the stuff here from all over. On this page here, a lot of these things came out from under the kitchen range.
Carol left behind 3 thick scrapbooks filled with photos and mementos of their restoration work together.
It wouldn't be here today if it hadn't been for her, I'll tell you that for sure.
Carol's neat, handwritten notes trace the history of their house in detail, including the old envelope addressed to Mrs. C.J. Prescott they found in the house.
She and her husband built the house and they owned it in 1864 and 65 and 66.
The Prescotts built the house, but during the mining boom, it changed hands several times. Carol mentions the chief of police, who owned a saloon and bought the house in 1886 for $300 in gold coins and sold it 2 years later for twice as much. Maybe he's the person from the past who lost a $10 gold piece behind the molding.
So I came in here and I said, "I got something you haven't got." And she said, "What's that?" And I held it up. That's one of the last times I saw it. She put it away.
Carol also kept a careful record of the other discoveries that she and Joe made in and about the house.
On the back side of the oilcloth shown the name Stanley Wright. Stanley Wright and his wife Hattie owned the house from 1903 until 1911.
Joe and Carol lifted a lot of layers from their walls and were delighted to find everything from oilcloth to flour sacks and newspapers, all while stripping it down to the original wallpaper.
This one is the original parlor paper, which was very beautiful.
Carol replicated the period papers, and the results of her research are detailed designs throughout the house. There are 7 wallpaper patterns in the master bedroom alone. Joe took part in a wallpapering project when he found a stack of newspapers under the floor. He used the San Francisco Chronicles from the early 1900s to cover the closet walls. And that's where he found a small door leading to a secret space on the 2nd floor.
I started to clean it out, and that's when I found these 2 ledgers. And I just didn't know what they were. And I just come out with an armload of stuff and gave them to the wife. And when I came down, she was sitting at the table and she'd gone right to the bottom of the thing immediately.
Carol discovered the ledgers belonged to C.J. Prescott, their home's original owner. Mr. Prescott owned a local lumber yard, and one page of the ledger seems to be a list of the lumber he used to build the house. Carol thought that the books had been put in the hidden space on purpose, as a sort of time capsule. A century later, she has left a legacy of her own in the house.
It's just a shame that she's not here to enjoy it now.
Each page of the scrapbook leaves a record of both her past and her home's. The two histories are now tied together. Memories of the home where her heart was. Joe has also discovered that the fireplace mantel is Carrara marble. He thinks the mantel was made in pieces in Italy and then shipped to its destination, some assembly required. At that time, there was no railroad and no Panama Canal, so the mantel would have had to sail around Cape Horn to San Francisco and was then sent by wagon train to Virginia City. Joe feels fortunate that his house was never remodeled because original features like the mantel are still there for him to enjoy. When we come back, unusual features in a 1911 Oklahoma house lead the current owners back to the up-and-coming architect who built their home. Stay with us.
Now on Court TV, the groundbreaking series that set a new standard in television.
We go by what happens in the real world.
Winner of 19 Emmy Awards.
You're in too deep.
Including Outstanding Dramatic Series.
He used you.
The most popular police drama on television.
I'm sorry for your loss.
You don't know anything about my loss.
From its very first episode.
I'm not counting you out.
NYPD Blue on Court TV.
Tune to NYPD Blue on Court TV, Channel 76, weeknights at 8 p.m. on Cox.
Again, Dad.
I never get to use the internet first.
Visit one of these local Circuit City stores today to learn more about a special offer for Cox Digital Cable and high-speed internet service.
Holiday season. Share the gift of Stetson.
Guess who?
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Storm.
The dreaded telemarketer.
It's Strom.
Congratulations.
90% of telemarketing calls are dialed by computer. Now you can stop them with a telezapper from Privacy Technologies. When you or your answering machine picks up a call, the telezapper sends a signal that zaps your number off the computer's list. Soon, those annoying calls virtually stop altogether. Get the telezapper for yourself or someone else at Kmart.
Excuse me, can you take Timmy to tuba practice?
No problem. Hey, mister.
Battle of Gettysburg?
No problem.
Can you take me to the truck, please?
No problem.
Tu peux nous amener à l'école?
Dodge Caravan. It offers an exclusive power rear hatch.
Hey, my pony!
And 972 seating configurations.
New Crystal Air Air Freshener from Wizard is the only one with a concentrated fragrance gel in a beautiful glass disc to refresh your home for up to 4 weeks. Wizard, fragrances that change your world.
Welcome back. I'm Grant Goodeve. Terry and Howard McDaniel of Tulsa, Oklahoma were playing the odds when they bought their 1911 house. Since only 3 fixer-uppers in their price range were on the market at the time, they had a small chance to find something nice. But amazingly, from the couple's limited choice, it was the first house that gave them infinite possibilities. Despite its terrible shape, the Craftsman bungalow was strikingly different than anything else they had ever seen. And little did they know that their first choice in a house could have taken first prize in an early 20th century parade of homes.
I know it sounds silly, but I literally saw it the way it is now.
Terry McDaniel has an eye for hidden treasures. 15 years ago, this craftsman bungalow on a Tulsa, Oklahoma corner had been tossed aside like rubbish. But all Terry could see was a priceless relic.
I'm the one that said, this is it, this is what I want, before I even got inside. Just seeing the outside, it was just such an unusual house. I mean, there was nothing about it that was ordinary.
Even the obvious work this 1911 home needed was extraordinary. And Terry's husband, Howard, didn't want to throw caution to the Midwest winds.
And I just had to make sure that she was aware that there was a lot to be done on this house. And she just asked me, she said, can you do it? And I said, yeah. She said, okay, we're getting it.
The McDaniels believe all they bought were 4 walls and a shell. In their case, everything had been stripped, including the proverbial kitchen sink.
This house was a contractor's nightmare. You could not have paid somebody to do the work that had to be done on this house.
Howard and Terry patched the home's many bruises. But they learned that at 2 different times in the home's history, it wasn't the structure that needed medical attention, it was the visitors here.
2 doctors had used this as an examining room, so that was kind of interesting, and they had their own entrance right here for their patients, and they had a door that went right into the bathroom, but yet it was cut off from the rest of the house.
The couple's neighbor told them that the bedroom served as a doctor's office in the early 1920s and in the 1950s. The neighbor also remembered that his own house was the final resting place for some patients.
The neighbor that's given us so much information, his grandfather was the funeral director, and he did things from his home. So if there was a death here, they just took him across the street to Steve's house.
Steve, who grew up next door, was a valuable resource for the couple. But more information was generated in the attic.
I found this light bulb in the attic while I was tracing some wires out. It is hand-blown glass. It does have the 1 filament wire that runs through it.
But one antique fixture never worked for Howard. In a closet, he tracked down a problem light only to turn on one rare feature.
I thought maybe there's a switch somewhere. And I got down here and I seen this here, and I figured out that this was the switch, and it had a broke wire in behind this plate. And that actually turns it on like a refrigerator. You open the door, the light comes on, you close the door, the light goes off. I hollered at Terry and I said, hey, you gotta come see this. I said, we have a refrigerator closet.
The closet was just another clue that this house was uncommon. Since Howard and Terry moved in, they've been fascinated by many inventive shapes not seen in other neighborhood houses. Among the clever features were an elaborate octagonal den and a long hallway with a creative line.
It's kind of unusual because when you get down to the end, it curves.
Wonderful windows, all with innovative interior shutters, impressed the couple too. An intricate archway was perhaps the most captivating.
The woodwork, it just, to me, I wonder what they were thinking about when they made such a massive archway.
To understand who had this flair for the unusual, the couple turned to their home's abstract. They discovered J.P. Curtin was the first owner and builder. But a more recognized publication designed a theory behind Mr. Curtin's avant-garde approach.
I just, by coincidence, was looking at an Architectural Digest, and it had an article about J.P. Curtin being an up-and-coming architect.
The architect's residence was more than a showcase of his talents. It was one of the first houses in one of Tulsa's first neighborhoods. He constructed other fine homes in the area and found success. But after 2 years in this house, he was cash poor. He defaulted on the lumber company's loan and had to sell the house. Still, J.P. Curtin's masterful skills serve as an inspiration to Howard.
I knew it had to be somebody that knew what they was doing, because this is a very unique house, and with the trim around the doors being up to a 45-degree point, everybody wanted to know if I did it, and I go, no, I wouldn't even have thought of that myself, you know.
But what Howard has thought to do is carefully restore this once underappreciated design. A Tulsa landmark that is forever an extension of the McDaniels' hearts.
We've been here for 15 years now, and as far as I'm concerned and my wife concerned, this is where we'll be at the end.
It's our history. It's not only Tulsa's history, it's our history too.
When the McDaniels moved in, Howard realized that the front porch had also lost its luster. All the pointed and notched ends of the overhanging beams were missing. Howard discovered how to restore the architect's original design when he traced the faint outline of a notched beam under the paint of another beam. He then copied the shape and replaced the roof joists to match the hidden example. Since then, the McDaniels' simple plan has been to simply enjoy their stylish front porch. When we come back, we'll revisit the 1864 Nevada house we showed you earlier to see a dramatic story that was stuck on the walls of a bathroom. Stay with us.
Visit the food and lifestyle category on HGTV.com for historic tours, great recipes, TV listings, and a project index packed with information. While online, check out the HGTV store for books, videos, and more.
Meet the real-life warriors of home repair. Weekend Warriors.
Monday night at 8 on HGTV.
Tomorrow on Design at 9.
There's a lot of uses for plastic that just make a lot of sense.
Plastic is inexpensive, lots of fun, and definitely smart design. Then can we recreate the serene Asian theme in this loud bedroom? Find out on Sensible Chic. Design at 9. Tomorrow at 9 on HGTV.
Do you have a secret wish to capture things most jiggleish? There's magic here, or so I'm told. Jell-O always breaks the mold. Jell-O gelatin makes some magic.
What if you could reverse an effect of aging on your cat? Feed her Imes Active Maturity Formula after age 7. It's the first cat food shown to help restore vital cells in her immune system, no matter where life takes her. Imes, good for today, good for tomorrow, good for life. Imes Active Maturity is now also available with hairball care.
And don't you move from those seats till your homework's all done.
Totino's pizza rolls are so easy, kids can make them on their own. Pepperoni pizza stuffed into a bite-sized roll. Totino's, it's how kids help themselves.
All power toothbrushes are not created equal. Sonicare. It has patented sonic technology and combines high-speed bristle motion with dynamic cleaning action. So effective, Sonicare removes 80% of stains, getting your teeth whiter and healthier in 28 days, guaranteed. See for yourself, or ask your dentist about Sonicare.
Bolla Wines of Italy. Open up.
Welcome back to If Walls Could Talk. Earlier in the program, we met Joe Page, who restored an 1864 home in Virginia City, Nevada. Joe's late wife, Carol, kept a detailed scrapbook with all the discoveries she and Joe made during the restoration. One of those pages from the past is a newspaper article about the sinking of the Titanic in 1912. Joe and Carol found the newspaper being used as wallpaper in their bathroom.
One of the most dramatic features of the disaster was the playing of the band on the deck as the ship went down. Those musicians were to be envied. They had something to do.
Joe says the newspaper was stuck onto cheesecloth, which was stretched over the wooden walls, a common method of hanging wallpaper at the time. Thanks for watching. Remember, every house has a history, so keep looking for clues to the past in your home. I'm Grant Goody.
Well, we stayed friends through the restoration. It was not always an easy matter, but we did stay friends.
This is our home, and Here to be lived in. It's not a museum piece, but we love it.
We assumed that they were hidden up there or else were put there for posterity. Anyway, I'm posterity, you know.
Monday night on Restore America, in upstate New York, a 3-year effort by 2 of Buffalo's finest is a true labor of love.